Hey, Colette.
Good morning.
Hi.
How
Good to
nice to
see
see
you
you.
really well. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for doing this.
We've both got our joyful blouses on.
Oh, yes, because we have to feel happy in spite of all the crap going on out there.
Exactly.
So before we start, I want to shout out to you for the January issue of House and Home. This issue,
Oh,
remember?
thank you. Yes, of
This
course.
apartment, it was in New York, right?
Yes.
I loved it.
I've had calls about that, which you don't necessarily always get. And people just went bananas for it.
Well, it's edgy.
Right.
It's sophisticated. It doesn't look, it's approachable. It looks like, people could aspire to this.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well,
So
I'm so glad.
do you go to New York a lot?
There's my pink glasses. I used to go to New York a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
tell me
I mean,
about
my
your,
husband's there almost every week. And I would go sort of maybe every 3 weeks.
what does he do?
So he's in finance.
But I guess he's not going right now.
And of course, he's not going right now. So he's on Zoom just like us.
So you're social distancing, you're staying home.
Yeah, yeah. I'm taking it.
And
I mean, I'm taking it's serious. I'm taking it seriously, and I hope other people are too.
oh, we have to take it seriously. It's the
I
only
know.
hope we have of saving our country.
There's always a few rogues,
Yeah, you're
but
taking it seriously. And tell us about what you're doing. Are you cooking a lot?
no, I loathe cooking. I cook when necessary. So we are doing a combination of Summerhill Market. I cook a little bit. My daughter makes a lovely pasta maybe once a week, and we're still doing takein as well from the local.
And how
Um,
old is your daughter?
she's 18.
So she could cook. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean she doesn't like it either. Yeah, what can you do? Can't
But
have
we're lucky,
everything.
aren't we? We're living in a beautiful part of Toronto. We both
I
have
know,
beautiful houses.
I know.
Show me a little bit of yours, Colette.
So I'm in my living room. I'm sitting in the corner where I have a library table, and I'm blessed to have two corner windows. So this is actually the spot that my husband and I fight over because the light is just wonderful to sit in, and also very good for conference calling on a vain, shallow note. Because you do want to have some light in your face as opposed to coming
Isn't it
from
true it's
behind.
about the light?
Oh, I
It's
mean,
all about the
it's
light.
true. It's true all the time. I mean, lighting in a room. I mean, we should just do a masterclass series just on that
On
and
lighting.
stop all this like overhead abundance of overhead lighting, which is very unflattering.
So can you move your screen enough to show us
I
a little bit of
can.
your room?
Let me try and.
Just turn it around. Just pick it
Yeah, hang on.
up.
I'm gonna knock my water over.
Coffee.
Sorry. In fact, I'm gonna unplug. Okay,
Oh, yes,
so
I remember that. Oh, absolutely. I
it
love
hasn't
that one page.
changed much since you and I were last here, but all of my rooms, I don't know what you're like, but they change
Same.
all the time, a little bit.
So tell us
So,
about now the long table. That's a styling dream. That's the place to style.
well,
So
totally.
tell us about what you do there when you mix it up.
And that's actually a spot that gets restyled a lot. Because the coffee table realistically, gets well used. So I'm not disciplined enough to have like a permanent coffee table scape that's sort of perfect and pristine and never gets touched. But the consoles, the terrazzo consoles on the side, which I bought at the Conran shop back when we were living in London, they're actually outdoor garden tables, and they're just pushed together. And I sort of do assemblages on that table.
Yep.
So it's a place where if we've just been somewhere, I might have the most current books that we've, picked up. I mean, this summer, for example, it was Sicily. And so those books are, I don't know if they're not on the table, but they're just
Yeah.
under the table. It's just the things that are currently in your heart.
Yeah.
And then actually on that table right now is the book I bought at Nikki Haslam's auction. So it's an antique original edition of Stephen Tennant's book. Yeah, so it's kind of a
little more
scrapbooky corner of my room.
A little more. Oh, I love that love seat against the wall.
Isn't that divine?
That's fantastic.
So this room is really kind of, it's set up in different kind of moments. And so there's a lot of different ways of using this room, even from lying down and sort of lounging with the floor pillows. I don't know if you can see those.
I can see that.
We sort of sprawl out there sometimes if there's, a fire going and it's like evening and we're, all sort of flaking around in here.
Tell me about your lampshades. They're kind of shields.
Oh.
And they're not very often found in North America. They're very often found in England, in London, or France.
Well, and I would say Italy. So that's a quintessential Italian shield, as you say, shaped shade. And they love them. And they're not very deep. They're sort of half shades. So they're great for, not taking up as much space. You're able to push the lamp a little closer to the wall.
Yes, I never thought of that. Great. Great room. Okay, so when I think of your signature style, I always associate you with a draped table in a hallway.
Oh.
That's draped to the floor.
Yeah.
With library books on it.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, because I had a room like that in our house in London, and I also did that in my flat in London. And truthfully, that table is undraped at the moment, but I'm sitting at it right now.
It's great. It's a very welcoming gesture when you enter a home to see a table with books and keys and, little objects and a lamp and everything. It's just warm.
It feels to me sort of very reassuring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Totally.
And I mean, that's going to be interesting to see where sort of your editorial stories and go post this. I think that people are going to be looking at their homes differently. Tell me about that.
What do you think is going to change?
I think it's going to be really about the home, the way the home works for you as opposed to the way the home presents to other people.
Interesting.
I've always really believed in that anyway, and that's such an English, they probably would never sort of coin phrase it in those ways.
But you just put it perfectly. It's the way your house works for you as opposed to how it presents itself to others. So it's not about show and tell. It's about function. It's about how it works for you because you've actually bonded with your house in a way you never thought you would.
Right. Yeah. And you should be able to use every room in multi-purpose ways. We can dine, have casual, like I said, flaking out on the floor evenings here. This can also function very formally as a cocktail room. We work in here on our laptops. So it's everything.
Love that. Okay. You know where I am right now? I'm in my dining room. My dining room has a table that seats 12 or 16. It's huge. But while I'm social distancing and staying home, while I'm housebound, this is what I did. I turned it into my home office because why wouldn't I take the best room in the house?
I couldn't agree more.
So this is my dining room usually, but not now.
Yeah.
Now it's my home office.
Okay, can I just comment on, I love the fact that you're showing just like the truth as opposed to, there's been some work from home posts of the sort of Louis XIV bureau plaque with a pencil cup on it.
Yes.
And that's not honest.
And you'll notice my bar is still full.
I'm not sure how long that's going to last, Linda.
I know, but we have Zoom happy hour, my friends and I. I'd love to invite you to a Zoom happy hour.
I'd love to.
And we have a cocktail, but there's still quite a lot of reserve. So that's the living room. But
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's like yours. It's a movable feast.
It is, exactly. And you've done similar to me. So on like where I'm sitting, I'm going to show you a sneaky truth. So
Good.
like
one sneaky truth. There you go. There's a job happening down in the corner. There's a job happening. Go back there again. I want our viewers to see.
Oh God.
Samples are on the floor.
Ugly truth.
Yes. No, it's not ugly. It's creative. This is real life.
Well, you know what the truth is, Linda? I do this all the time anyway, because I find in my studio, although I have incredible light, things feel different there. When I think I've got it, when I'm like scheming for a client, I often bring it home, and my poor husband, and do this. And I wander around over the weekend, and I look at it in, you know, different times of day and all that sort of thing, because it just, you know, it metamorphoses itself in the different light and everything. So this is actually not uncommon for me.
And you see it in a residential setting.
Exactly.
Which is more real.
It really
so would you say, if you had to say your house was a daytime house or a nighttime house, before you had to be housebound, what was it?
I love that question, actually. So I actually, I think about these things even before this unusual sort of circumstance we're in. So this room is a day and nighttime room. So it's very bright. It has a lot of windows. I kept the color, you know, it's actually Benjamin Moore Moonshine, which I'm crazy about.
I'm writing this down.
I want your favorite white too.
Okay, Benjamin Moonshine. Yep.
And then, so can I take you on a quick tour across the hall?
I wish you would. How exciting.
So my over the top foyer, which you've seen before.
I love the way, I mean, you must engage a lot of artists because you're always doing great wall treatments and ceiling treatments. Look at that.
I do. I love to collaborate. And so now I'm going to take you into my nighttime room. So I really, because we have a cottage, I knew that we would really mostly use this room in the winter and at night. So I love
this room. It's a library dining room.
It's a library dining room. I love it too. You know, it doesn't photograph well, but the walls are velvet. Everybody thinks it's wallpaper.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to show you how we're living. So this is the civilized end, and we are having
where we dine.
Yes,
looks like the
butler. We're having fancy dinners, even if it's burgers. So you know, we had burgers here the other night, and we light the candles, and we have a glass of wine.
Makes you feel special.
Well, completely. I mean, and also, it's not like we're in a rush. Let's face it.
That's the one good thing about being housebound.
I couldn't agree more.
You get into a rhythm, and you actually enjoy your house in a way you never have.
And most of the time, each other even.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we're all I think we are going to learn some things from this.
Okay. The other end.
Okay, the other end. This is again the naughty.
I love this. This is your studio.
So this is my home studio. So I'm sort of I'm trying to keep the junk at this end of the room. And I use this space for drawing, sketching, painting, and then I do my, you know, computer work, conferencing and writing in this other room, in the living room.
Do you not feel so fortunate to have a creative outlet?
Oh, I mean, look, I think artists in isolation have a very symbiotic relationship, no matter what. So yeah, I'm very comfortable alone at home.
Yes.
In isolation, and love solitude.
So there are lots of people who don't have a creative outlet because they just haven't ever explored it, not because they don't have it in them. But what would your advice be to people at home who are looking at their rooms for the first time under a microscope and doing what you said, living in them and learning how they work for them?
Yeah.
If they wanted to start I don't know, planning for when this is over, or building an inspiration file, or figuring out what to do to give their rooms new energy. Tell us some of the tricks that you would employ just to get going.
I would download your magazine.
Oh, April 6th, the new issue. Here it is, free.
Ooh,
Download it, go to the App Store.
That's a gorgeous gesture. I mean,
I want everybody, no one to miss it. And if you want your paper copy, you can still get it at the supermarket or the drugstore, or you can go online and we'll send it to you. We'll mail you.
I'm going to tell you one thing, and I do still subscribe to all my magazines.
Good.
But I also digitally subscribe.
Yes.
Because I find, and so just going back to your question, I mean, if someone, is starting to think about these things and how their home is and isn't working for them, and, how they want to go forward with it. For example, this isn't a magazine, but I use, well, maybe I should open the magazine.
But an iPad Pro.
But I use my iPad.
Yeah.
And you can do the same thing on your phone with my magazine subscriptions. And because you can zoom in, so I make sort of scrapbooks digitally. I'm not a huge fan of Pinterest. I think it's just, there's too much content and it's not curated.
It's not edited.
Exactly. But I think to use the shelter magazines and to create some photo files and zooming in onto, you don't necessarily have to like the whole room. So sometimes it's just a chair or a moment, like I'm looking at your gorgeous sort of corner vignette behind you. And it might be like, oh yeah, that lamp would actually be perfect. So start making, photographic folders and starting to curate your own content.
And make an inspiration.
And you'll start to see a vision of yourself, hopefully.
I hope. Well, another good trick is go around and take a picture of every wall of your house, because you're used to looking at things, as you said, two-dimensionally in a magazine on your iPad. And it's hard sometimes when you're standing in a room and your peripheral vision's taking it all in. It's hard to isolate the wall that needs the work. Yeah. So if you take a photo of it and you look at it objectively, it can be shocking. Like I'm looking behind you right now, sight line. Yeah, I'm looking at your sight. I've got a sight line of you sitting in front of the opening to your hallway. And I love those two pieces hanging on the wall with the black frames.
Which I made.
You made?
Oh my God.
Can you get us up close? Let's get, this is
my art in here is homemade.
No, let's get up close. Our followers, readers.
I'm telling you all my dirty secrets, Linda.
But this is good. Oh, you made them. Okay, are they from a book?
And this is all about framing. Okay, so this is actually from, might be the New York Times. And it was an article written by, I can't remember, on Joan Didion. And it has such a gorgeous quote. And I had actually marked up the article. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, it's under a microscope. It's under a glass.
Well, so actually, I just did that on iPhoto. You can make I forget what they call it, but you can halo the photo. And the quote is, "Style, we are reminded, is the sum total of your devotion to making life a little more perfect, a little more lived."
That's great.
And that's just like, that's everything that you and I believe in.
Great.
And so honestly, I made that on my photocopier.
And then you got some matting.
I did I spent all the money on the framing. So it's shadow boxed, and this frame, I don't know if you can see. It's got a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
And of course, everything's behind perspex, it looks. And then this is Joseph Cornell. I'm not very good at this.
No, we can see it. It's perfect. But the point is, when I look at this, when you were sitting down before, I could see the picture frame molding surrounding, isolating that area. Then I saw the frames of the work. Then I saw the matting and all the different boxes in one inside the other. It was a great view. It's a great view. And then on the left, you've balanced it with a chair. And then you've got the dark window frame, and you've got your Roman shade that's dark, and your bar. Like, this is a great sightline. So if people could do that in every room, go around and do it.
No, you're right. And actually, you know what? I do that with clients' houses. So when we're almost finished and we're just trying to figure out, again, with my iPad, I do exactly what you're saying. And then I look at it in the photo, because sometimes it just shows things that you just somehow never noticed in 3D.
Yeah. Another thing I want to ask you about your dining room. So when I look at your dining room, I see a level of detail that says to me that this house, no, seriously, this room, it was organic. You did something, and then you did something else, and then you painted the door dark, and then you added this. It wasn't sitting down with a floor plan and telling your client, I'm going to do all these things and it's all going to be great. Approve all this stuff, and then it happens. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
You have to build the layers as you go, or you'll never get that look.
I totally agree. I know people work in different ways, but to me, because I like a very real, layered, even if it's, I mean, my place is pretty cluttered, let's face it. It's what Alexa Hampton calls haute clutter.
Very good. Haute clutter.
But even if it's, a much more sort of minimalist approach, I want it to storytell. I'm really interested in narrative, my client's narrative, their whole family narrative.
Okay, storytelling.
And that takes time.
Love that. The house should tell a story of the family.
100%. Yeah.
And it should contain personal things. Yeah. And it should speak to them.
Yeah.
And what happens when...
And, my job is to elevate it all, curate it all.
What happens to the client who you love, who happens to have some really bad art? Are you honest? Do you tell them it's bad art, or do you make it work?
I'm honest. I'm definitely honest, but I'm also really open-minded because, Rose Cummings had that saying, like, every room has to have something ugly. Yes. Yes. She has a point. There's an art to doing that. But
Nikki's good at
I always give it a go.
You're good at that. You and Nikki are both good at that. It's wit, basically.
Well, I live for wit. Yes, good point. I don't even think of it that way because to me it's so innate.
Well, it stops your tracks. It makes you do a double take. It's like, really?
Right. Yeah. And isn't that great? I love that.
Yeah, great. I love your house. I love it. Okay, my favorite white. Okay, well, one I use a lot is white down.
Oh, really?
Yes, I use it a lot. It's got a sort of a gray undertone.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, just a little bit. And I like to build the whites. My living room has 6 or 7 whites. Do you like?
That's very John Fowler.
Yeah.
He was famous for that.
Yeah. I like that because I find different days, different times of the day, the light picks up different whites. It just gives it more bones. It just more detail.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great approach.
So, all right, let's go back to your point, which was, I think, fabulous, that people are going to be different after this virus is gone. What's going to happen? Are we going to appreciate our homes more? Are we going to
well, I think if they're as nice as yours and mine, that we're going to appreciate them more than ever.
Pay more attention to them.
Well, say it again.
Pay more attention to our homes.
I can't help but think that that's going to be the case. I think there is going to be a fundamental shift that's going to be quite long term. I don't see us 6 or maybe even 12 months from now. In fact, I had this conversation with some friends last night, and we were all sort of saying, I don't know, how are we going to feel about going out to galas of 400 and that sort of thing? Maybe it's going to go back to sort of smaller dinner parties of 6 where, there's maybe not clinical distancing, but it's just a little more controlled and safe. And
maybe we'll be more appreciative of things. Whenever you watch documentaries or movies about wartime in Britain, you always notice that people are much more, they're kinder and they're more interested in real things and intimate gatherings and small pleasures and appreciative of every little positive thing. And it's just, we've just become so greedy. And so,
well, as a Canadian, I lived in England for 13 years, and I always felt that the wartime hangover was still very alive and well. in England. I still think that.
Mm.
And it lent something to how they lived, how they used their houses, and how their houses were sort of set up. And there is a sort of irreverent approach. They're not worried if
they're not worried about the wrong
if
things.
you spill a little red wine on the, the carpet or whatever, or if there's a little mud getting tracked in, or if the newspaper is still strewn on the floor. Like they just don't.
More real. Yeah, much more.
Yeah.
Much more. And you see it in their homes, English country homes.
Yeah.
I had my dear friends who both passed away now, but they were both Canadians who had a house in Dorset. It was a fabulous manor house, and it was renovated with, central air and proper heating at a time when nobody had it. And whenever we would go to visit their friends, when my late husband and I were house guests, we would go to visit their friends for dinner, and who lived in the area, who were all Brits. And they would always tell me ahead of time which rooms to look into, not to look at this, don't look at that, never mind this, and you'd go to these grand country houses that had kitchens with dirt floors. I mean, it was so eccentric. They didn't worry about the things we worry about. They were, the gesture.
And the way they will, I mean, we're sort of making generalizations, but when I think about also the way people have welcomed me into their home. So in that way, the way the English have you over, and it's not uncommon for it to be buffet lunch, out on the sideboard, and everything's in a
real
disarray. So real and so comfortable, and because of that, you feel so comfortable.
Yes,
and the whole thing becomes much more jolly.
Yes.
I used to go for dinner at Lee Radziwill's with Nikki at her New York apartment, and she
that beautiful all white, sort of pale blue, white, gray.
That was a master class in white on white, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah. And then she, not to compare, but a little bit like me, she had a very dark, dramatic dining room with that gorgeous stripe. I don't know if it was Renzo Margiodano, but she would often actually just set up a table in her living room beside the fireplace and have dinner there.
So what was she like?
What was she like? Well, she was just a pistol. I mean, it was hard to sometimes focus on what she was saying because I loved her voice so much. And she smoked, like chain smoked, and spoke very slowly and very sort of considered. And was witty as sharp as a nail. So she was pretty special.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, a very comfortable, irreverent kind of hosting, which I love. And
I love that.
I think there's going to be more of that.
Yes. Yeah. More reality.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's fun to see people in their real homes, like this, like you and me? Isn't it better than having everything set and and sort of tart it up to the point where we don't know what's real and what isn't? This is so much better.
Well, so yesterday I posted, so you can do virtual, gotta talk about this. You can do virtual backdrops on Zoom.
No.
So yesterday, I'm gonna send you some. Yesterday I spent my day in the Villa Trianon in Elsie de Wolf's tented party room.
No.
So I'm just going to start virtually traveling. Every day I'm going to do like a new backdrop for my Zoom.
What are you going to call that?
I'm going to be all over the world.
Except you have to tell people that it's fake, because we don't want them leaving their homes. Don't set a bad example, Colette.
Okay, all right. I'll put a disclaimer sticker.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because we have to end soon, and I want to just say a few things about staying home. You go first. Tell us why we have to stay home no matter what.
Oh God, I'm going to start crying. Really, I'm going to start crying.
Okay.
We have to stay home because this is serious.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look in the face, even the television face, of the people that are out there on the front line, from the truckers to the nurses, to the shippers. There are so many people that are kind of keeping us ticking along right now.
And they have to take the subway to work. They have to take TTC. They don't have an option. And they trust us to stay home and keep any germs we have away from everybody out there that has to go out of their homes.
Exactly.
It's the least we can do.
It's the least we can do. Yeah. And like, let's face it, it's not so hard.
No, it's not. Hey, this has been great.
Thank you, Linda. It really has been. Can we do this every morning?
Oh, we can do this often, very often. Some mornings I have to be in those Zoom meetings forever. I'm sure you do too.
I know.
But good luck with all your projects.
Thank you so much.
And
I look forward to next stages and how this conversation about our houses continues.
Exactly. Talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
Love.